So today I will discuss some of our results regarding the ancient human cultural evolution and the population responses to it. Ancient human cultural evolution has been deeply intertwined with the evolution of the stone tool technology, starting at about 3.3 million years ago. With the advent of the Lumicvian tools, which were quite heavy, and all the way up to the 40 kilo years ago with the Aurignacian tools. So this was the development of tool complexity with time. The Lumicvian tools were rather heavy, and they the primates used mainly for breaking open nuts and bashing open trees to get access to the different types of insects and so on. And the next leap forward was the Oldowan tools that appeared around 2.6 million years ago. So these kinds of tools were slightly smaller in size and with a sharper edge. So the primates could get access to different sources of food, so they could peel off the skin and get access to meat and bone marrow, etc. And then the next leap was the Acheulean industry, about 1.7 million years ago. So the tools were slightly more refined and smaller in size. So here I just show the transformation of a raw tool into a hand axe in the Acheulean tool industry. And these are some of the tools that the Acheulean industry had. So cleavers, scrapers, and picks with notched tips to serve different purposes. And then the next leap is the Aurignacian tools. That was the more recent one. So these guys had the tools were slightly more advanced with the advent of bone and ivory needle tools for garments, and the pressure blades, the pressure blade technology for various purposes, and the burins for doing artwork in the caves and so on. So this is a procedural flow chart that describes how, this is taken from the reference underneath it. So this describes how a raw stone is transformed into various kinds of different tools by following different sequences. So so if we follow each sequence, we end up with a particular tool, so starting from raw. So it's just to describe how procedural units are counted. So now, these are some of the examples of the procedural units. So each of these procedural steps count as one PU. This is the figure from the reference, and they describe the procedural unit counts data for the stone tools from 3.3 million years ago up to around 10 kilo years ago. And this result describes how the stone tools evolved over time. So what they want to conjecture is that they first set a baseline of complexity for cumulative culture to emerge. So they set PU count equals to 6 as a baseline for the cumulative culture. So any tool with a PU count of significantly higher than 6 means there has been technological transfer between through generations. So so this starts at around 0.8 million years ago. As you see that there has been an exponential rise in the PU counts as compared to the periods before that. So they conjecture that the cumulative culture actually started to arise at about 600 kilo years ago. So the main question in our research is how did culture, as expressed in this in the tool in terms of the tool complexity, influence the dispersals, competition and competitive exclusion, and the extinction of different species. And in this talk, I'll very briefly discuss the case of Homo sapiens versus the Neanderthals. This is the schematic of our model. So effectively, first we take the raw PU counts, and then we translate it into a cultural variable through a statistical model. And then this new culture is used as a forcing in the relaxation partial differential equation. And then it is supplied into the carrying capacity, which is transformed into a cultural carrying capacity. And then all of this is supplied to our HDM model for simulations. So this is the main equation for the cultural evolution. So this is a relaxation type equation. So this C star is essentially the new cultural state that we create with our statistical model. So this is the relaxation part of the equation, and it is. So one can understand the relaxation equation through a very simple physical model that of perhaps everyone knows, the spring mass system, which is overdamped. So essentially, what happens is that if you have a mass attached to a spring and that is fixed, the spring is fixed on the other end and then once you pull the mass away from the equilibrium, I mean, initially it's at the equilibrium position, but once you pull it and the surface beneath is too rough and you release the mass, and there's a restoring force that tries to pull the mass back towards its equilibrium position. But the condition is that it doesn't oscillate around the equilibrium. Right. Usually it does, but in that kind of thing, we can actually make the analogy with this kind of relaxation equation. So essentially, this C star is the cultural reference state that acts as the equilibrium for the cultural for our culture. So so this is I think I missed, yeah. So I missed this one. So this is the result of our regression model that we did. So this is for the Homo sapiens, and that is for the Neanderthals. So the black dots in these two do not actually mean the PU counts as from the original reference. So these black dots are actually the technological complexity that. So this is a new variable that we created out of the raw PU values. Right. And then we do the Bayesian regression on this to create this cultural reference state. So this C star is essentially then this C star is then this cultural reference state that we created with our statistical model. Right. So this C star can be regarded as just a random variable. So we split it up into a mean and a fluctuation and a stochastic fluctuation around the mean, this one. So yeah, so from the cultural reference state, what we pull up the quantiles, the upper and lower quantiles, as the upper and lower bounds for this stochasticity, for this stochastic fluctuation. So the upper and the lower quantiles actually come from our regression model. So this is the main equation for the population. This has the diffusion term and the logistic term and the interbreeding term, and this is this whole term is together we call it the cultural carrying capacity. It has the cultural feedback, and this alpha is the growth rate of the species, and this is the competitiveness, relative competitiveness based on the cultural level between the two species. Oh, okay. So one more thing. So the as I described that the HDM model is placed within climate environment. So the climate enters the model through this carrying capacity K, right? And the spatial topography enters through this diffusion. Right. So this is the second cultural equation that we just described. So in our simulation, this is a coupled set of equations that we supply in our simulations, and this is the result of our simulation in the next slide. So this is the Homo sapien population and the Neanderthals population on the left panel, and the corresponding culture on the right panel. So the first wave of the Homo sapiens and the second wave. Yeah. So the later Homo sapiens entering out of Africa into Eurasia actually have a higher cultural level and broader ecological niche. So they overcompete the Neanderthals. So this is the global population of for the Neanderthals, and so the blue one is for the Neanderthals, and the green one is for the the green one is for the Neanderthals, and the blue one is for the Homo sapiens, and this is the population and this is the culture. So we can see that as soon as there's a second uptick in the culture of Homo sapiens, it turns out to be lethal for the Neanderthal population, and they get extinct around 35 kilo years ago. And culture in our model is actually influencing the efficiency with which available food resources are translated into fitness. And lambda from our culture equation is the culture recovery time scale, and we set it 3 times slower. I mean, as I just described the example of a spring mass, so it has a restoring time. So the recovery time scale for Neanderthals is in this simulation is set to be 3 times slower than the Homo sapiens, and the cultural quantiles from the statistical model are also lower for the Neanderthals. So I mean, these two features combined together give a competitive advantage to Homo sapiens, causing the Neanderthals extinction around 35 kilo years ago in our simulation. So yeah, thank you. That's what I want.